Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something I've never done before, and that is making a bustier style dress. Now, one of my goals for myself for 2024 was to learn how to sew a bustier top. So this project is going to be doubly fun for me because I'm actually sewing this dress with an event in mind. I'm going to be attending the Toronto Frock Tales event, which is being held this April. I've never gone to a Frock Tales before. I know they're held in different cities, but Toronto hasn't had one for a little while, at least since I've been living here, and I'm so excited for the opportunity to go and meet some of you perhaps, or some other people who love to sew. And it's the perfect excuse to make a fun dress as well, and maybe something a little bit dressier than I would normally make. So the theme for the event is the golden glamour days of Hollywood, and they described the theme as your interpretation of something gold, glittery, and really fun. So I think they're leaning more towards everyone wearing gold. Now, I don't want this video to be too negative, but when I saw that the theme was gold, I was a little bit disappointed just because April isn't a time of year I would really feel inspired to sew something gold. I would think of that more during like the holiday season or New Year's. You know, it's kind of the time of year when spring is coming, so I feel much more inspired by like colors and florals. So I think I'm going to try to stretch the theme as much as I can, and I'll show you what I'm thinking. So basically, to incorporate the idea of gold and glitter, I'm thinking of using an embroidered kind of tulle fabric that has flowers on it, and I'm thinking of choosing a fabric that incorporates some gold sequins or some gold glitter or something like that. Now, I am planning on using the Rose Cafe Bustier pattern. This pattern has gotten a lot of positive reviews from the sewing community. It seems like a lot of people out there have given it a try, and I did notice that she recently updated the pattern with more cup options and more size options and things like that. So basically what I'm envisioning for this project is a bustier style top that has a flowing skirt, so either with a gathered panel or a half circle skirt. And I think this floral embroidered fabric will be my top layer, but I will put it over top of some sort of satin fabric, which will be my underlayer. And I'm planning on taking a swatch of my floral fabric to the store and seeing how it lays on top of different kinds of satin underneath. And I also think it would look really cute with like tie top straps. Actually kind of similar to the dress that was behind me, so I really like the way these kind of bow tie top straps look, so I think this would be really, really cute. I'm going to start by making a mock-up of the bodice and then take things from there, and hopefully I'll work out any fit issues or kinks or questions I have with the pattern during the fit process, and then I won't touch my beautiful, more expensive fabric until I'm 100% sure I'm ready to go with it. Okay guys, so basically I was shopping online for my outer fabric and I knew I wanted something floral and maybe something with some elements of gold. This first one was a top contender because it had the gold I was looking for, but I didn't like the repetitiveness of the pattern. The second one was stunning with these sequin florals, but it was just a little bit too much compared to what I was looking for. This one with the pretty pinky red roses was definitely a contender. I nearly went for this one, but in the end there was another fabric that won my heart over. Plus, this one was really expensive. This pink embroidered floral fabric was so much fun and so playful. I just felt like maybe it wasn't quite my style, but I could see someone making a cute dress out of this one. This gold sequined floral fabric definitely fit the theme the best, but I just didn't really feel like it was my style. This last floral fabric definitely won my heart over. I love the pinky corally color of the flowers. It's got gold embroidery thread, so I feel like it fits the theme. And I love that the print is medium scale and it's varied. So when you're using a lot of the fabric, the print looks random, and I really like that. I don't like when prints look too repetitive. The price was also somewhat better than some of the other ones, and it was still expensive, but this one just won my heart, and I'm hoping it's going to make a really beautiful dress. Hey guys, so I just got my fabric that I ordered for this dress, and I am so excited to open it. So I thought that we could unbox it together here. Oh my god guys, first impressions, it is so beautiful. It's even more beautiful than I thought. Oh my goodness, you guys. This fabric is stunning. So the flowers are a little bit bigger than I expected, which I actually love. Like, I kind of originally wanted a larger scale print, but they're the perfect size. Like, they're not huge and they're not tiny. The embroidery is beautiful. Like, the gold threads that I could kind of tell online they were gold, they are like really showing up as gold on this fabric. It is so beautiful. And the pinks with the greens, it's all my favorite colors. Oh my gosh, I just have to say, guys, like, if you want a beautiful fabric for a really special dress, this looked amazing online and it looks even better in person. So I think I have to say that I would highly recommend this seller because this is just stunning. So basically, I went to fabric shopping in downtown Toronto. I went to Fabricland as well as King Textiles, and I brought a swatch of my main floral fabric with me. And basically, I was just laying it on top of different colors to see which effect I liked best. Even though there were so many beautiful options, I felt I was just leaning towards something pinky or peachy, and in the end, I decided I liked something peachy nude best. I ended up going with this really gorgeous fabric. I don't even know what it's called, to be honest, but it's some sort of polyester blend. And it's almost like the texture of a satin, but a matte kind of satin. And it's this beautiful, like, peachy brushed pink color that I think looks really, really nice underneath of the floral fabric. And it's gorgeous. I just love it. So I bought 4 yards of this and I got it from King Textiles in Toronto, and I really like shopping there. And I would highly recommend to you that if you live in Toronto, you should definitely check out King Textiles. Okay guys, so today I'm going to go fabric shopping again for this project, and I'm really looking forward to heading over to the fabric store. So I already have my main fabric as well as my lining fabric for the dress. So today we're looking for some tulle for the skirt, and I want to try to find tulle as close to this kind of pinky nude color as possible. So I'm going to bring this swatch with me to the fabric store and we'll see what we can find. I'm also looking for some ribbon for the straps of my dress. So I'm going to bring a swatch of my main fabric, and I'm hoping to find some pretty pink ribbon that matches the flowers in this fabric. And I also always go armed to the fabric store with my shopping list. I need a few notions like matching thread, top stitching thread, I need some new needles and things like that. So let's go fabric shopping and I'll take you along with me. I was looking for ribbon that I was going to use for the straps of this dress as well as for the waistband. And they had so many gorgeous ribbons, but I fell in love with one that matched the pink tones in my main fabric perfectly. And I'll show you guys which ribbon I chose a little bit later. I was also looking at the tulle because I knew I wanted to have tulle for my skirt. I couldn't find a perfect match for my peachy, pinky nude fabric, so I ended up buying the nude color you see here as well as the pink color you see here. I bought 5 yards of each, and I plan to layer them in the skirt similar to my fabric. So as you can see here, this isn't a bad start, but there are a number of fitting issues that I want to address. There's about 2 inches of extra width of fabric at the top near the underbust area along the back that will need to be taken out. The cups are not sitting flush with my body. The middle part of the bustier or the gore is not sitting flush with my chest, and it seems like this happens when the cup size is too small. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start making my new pattern pieces, grading from the size 4 at the top to the 6 at the waist, and then I'll get started on round 2 of making my bustier mock-up. So I am going to grade from the larger size, the 6 at the waist, up to a 4 at the top. I'll do that on the back bodice side piece. And then I'll do the same thing here on the back bodice center piece as well, grading up like this. Okay, so for mock-up number 2, it's fitting a lot better overall, especially the bodice part at the waist. The bodice at my bust is still a little bit too big. Overall, the cups are better than in the first mock-up. I used a C cup as well as a C underwire. The C underwire seems to fit me really well, but I am having trouble with the cup gaping at the top. So I think for my next mock-up, number 3, I'm going to need to make some sort of custom cup situation to try to fix this cup gaping problem that I've been having. Okay guys, this is now my third and final mock-up of the Rose Cafe Bustier top, and I think it's pretty much perfect. So luckily I didn't have to make this bodice all over again. This is the same bodice that I used for mock-up number 2. For this mock-up, I did go ahead and add a zipper in. My zipper has a ridiculously long tail, so just ignore that, but I did go and add a zipper in so that I could get kind of the final effect of the fit, and I think it's pretty good. I do think it could go a little bit tighter in the top, so I do think I'm going to take an additional 1 centimeter off each of the back pieces along the center where the zipper goes, just starting at the top and then grading to the waist. The waist is fitting perfectly. I do think that when I go to cut out my actual fabric, I should probably lengthen this by like 1 more centimeter just so I have a little bit more seam allowance to work with when I go ahead and attach my skirt. But so in my first mock-up, I made a B cup with the corresponding suggested underwire size for the B cup, and it was too small. The center was sticking really far off the body. The second mock-up I made a C cup with the suggested C underwire size, and it fit a lot better, especially the underwire, but I was getting a lot of gaping in the cups. I was just kind of confused about where to go from here. So I took some time, thought about it. I dove into Reddit, YouTube tutorials, just seeing what other people had done online. And what I ended up doing was I graded the cups. So the underwire is still the C underwire, and I graded the cups from a C at the bottom to a B at the top. And again, that's because I was getting a lot of gaping at the top of my cups, and I was pretty sure that the B underwire was too small. So finally, I have the cups. They fit really well. The centerpiece in the front still sits a little bit away from my body. I do think if I take in the top of the bodice that 2 centimeter more, that will also help. So yeah, it has been a major mission to get to this point. I've honestly spent quite a lot of time doing the mock-ups and fitting, but finally today we can start cutting out the main fabric, which I'm so excited about. Okay guys, so I just tried on my final mock-up one more time, and I just finished making some final adjustments to my pattern pieces. So I added 1 centimeter of length at the waist, just so I have a little bit of extra seam allowance when I go to attach my really bulky skirt later on. I think I'll thank myself for that. I also had an issue where the cup I modified wasn't quite lining up with the bodice properly, so I just adjusted this pattern piece so that it should line up well with the edge of my modified cup. And then I also just took out a little bit more width under my bust as well as kind of in my mid-torso area, because I found that the bustier was still just fitting pretty loose on me. So I took out another inch or 2 in the back, and I found that that really helped just to kind of keep the corset nice and tight on my body. So let me zoom you in and show you what I ended up doing for my cup pieces, just so you have a bit of a better idea of what I ended up doing. Okay, I'm going to show you examples of how I modified my cup pieces using this G cup piece. So this is the side lower cup piece. So I had tested out the B cup and the C cup. The B cup was too small, but I think the problem was really that the underwire was too small. The C cup, the underwire fit me much better, but there was a lot of gaping at the top. And if you want a quick side by side, this was the B cup just cut out as written, and this was the C cup. cutout as written. So you can see the C cup is quite a bit bigger than the B. So basically I was between these two, and looking at how much of a size difference there is between these two cups, I think that a lot of people could potentially find themselves between sizes for this pattern. So I knew I liked the way that the bottom underwire fit for the C cup. So essentially what I wanted to do was grade between these two cup sizes. So to do that, I just overlapped them on each other, making sure they were facing in the same direction. So I wanted to keep both the length of the underwire and the volume at the bottom of the cup most similar to the C cup, the larger size, but I wanted the top of my cup to have a smaller volume more similar to the B size. So I basically overlapped these two pieces like that, and I ended up grading between the two sizes to get something that looks like this. So if I overlap it with the original C cup piece, you can see the underwire length is exactly the same, which is what I wanted. But if I put my new cup on top of the C cup piece, you can see that it's quite a bit smaller in volume at the top. And if I compare my new piece to the B cup, the volume of the cup at the top is most similar to the B. So essentially I just graded between these two the best I could. And I'm not an expert in doing this, but I did follow a couple YouTube tutorials and I read some blog posts and things like that. So I'm going to link all the resources I used in the description box. So I essentially repeated that process of grading between the two sizes for the F and G, the lower cup pieces, as well as this upper cup piece. And once I had done that, I needed to make sure I had the right pieces for this project. So when it comes to cutting out our actual foam cup, this is what we're going to want to use. We have the seam allowances on either side of the E piece, as well as along the bottom underwire edge for the G and F pieces. But these are actually the pieces I will use to cut out of my main fabric. As you can see, all three of these pieces have their 1 centimeter seam allowances around the outside. So I'm really happy with the fit. So it is finally time to cut out from my main fabric. Okay, so now that all of that fit testing is finally done, I can dive into cutting my main fabric, which I have here. So I did test out a couple of different types of interfacing, and I think the one I'm going to end up going with is a woven poly cotton interfacing that provides a little bit more structure, a little bit more stability. It does remove a lot of the drape, but for such a fitted bodice, you don't really need the drape anyways. So when I was doing some test cuts to test my interfacing, I quickly realized that this fabric is going to be very challenging to cut. It's very shifty, it moves all over the place. So for that reason, I'm actually going to do some block fusing of my interfacing to my main fabric. So block fusing is when you fuse a large piece of fabric and interfacing together, and you do it before you actually cut your pattern pieces out. And I think that in this case, doing the block fusing will just help to keep the fabric a little bit more stable when I go to cut out the pieces, since it will already have the interfacing attached. So I've got all my pattern pieces ready to go, and I'm going to start cutting out my main fabric for the bodice pieces, and I'm going to use this fabric for both the main and the lining fabric, but I'm only going to interface the main fabric pieces. I'm not going to interface the pieces that are going to be used for lining pieces. Those will just stay as they are. When it comes to the floral tulle overlay, I'm going to cut that out after I finish cutting out these pieces. So I'll show you guys what I'm thinking of doing with my floral tulle in a little bit once we've cut these pieces out. So let's get to it. So I did just finish sewing the bodice together. So I sewed all the bodice pieces together and then I pressed my seams. And for this particular project, the main pattern has instructions about how they want you to press seams. I ended up pressing my middle seam open. I pressed my next seams over to the inside, and then the other two seams closer to the side and the back, I pressed towards the back. And I did finish the lining as well, but I'm trying not to handle it that much because I don't want the cup pieces to stretch out on the lining since I didn't stay stitch or anything like that. And just as a reminder, I interfaced my main fabric for the main part of the dress, and the lining is made from the same fabric, but I didn't use any interfacing. Okay, so next up, before we attach the main bodice to the lining bodice, we do have to put the boning in. And the boning that I bought is this Rigiline or Rigiline. It's polyester boning that you can sew through. And it's described as a lightweight boning. I've never worked with any type of boning, so I'm not really an expert, but this was easy enough to use in my practice runs. So let me zoom you in and show you what we're gonna do with the boning here. So for all these seam allowances, the boning is going to be tucked under the seam allowance. So in the end, the seam allowance should completely cover the boning. And for the center front, I'm going to do 2 pieces of boning, one on either side of that center front seam. Now for the length of my boning pieces, I'm going to measure 1.5 centimeters from the top of each seam line, and then 2.5 centimeters from the bottom. And the reason for that is I left myself some extra seam allowance at the bottom. So my true waist is about 2 centimeters up and then about 0.5 centimeter of wiggle room on either side. So then I'll cut the length of my boning to be within that. And this type of boning, it was suggested that you heat seal the end, so I've just been using a lighter to do that carefully. Carefully, away from your project, away from anything flammable. Be careful, guys. Fire is no joke. But you can use that to carefully seal the end. And then what I'm going to do to start, I'm going to stitch the boning as close to the original seam allowance as I can. Then I'll tuck it under, and then from the right side, I'll top stitch, which will be catching this other edge on the underside. So then my boning should be completely encased. And just remember, guys, that this is gonna look super neat and tidy at the end because we have a full lining that's gonna cover all of this as well. So I'm gonna get started with doing all my boning. Okay guys, that's all for part 1 of this video. I'm so excited to show you part 2 where we'll finish making this dress and I'll show you guys the big reveal. So make sure you look out for that video coming up real soon. Bye guys!